All right, chat. We're gonna watch this Bellular video that came out a few days ago. This is obviously a topic of conversation since basically Blizzard was taken over by Activision. People are always talking about the impact that Activision had and how Blizzard changed and how the game of World of Warcraft changed and how its focus became basically on pure profits. So Bellular is probably, well, he is probably is way more in the know than I am. He knows people at Blizzard, can talk to people about this sort of thing. So I'm kind of interested to hear what the true impact of Activision on Blizzard Entertainment was. So here's his video here.
Talk about today because a whole bunch of ex-Blizzard developers have somewhat aired some dirty laundry. This is stuff that does confirm some things that we thought, indeed a few things that a decently high-ranking ex-member of a certain team at Blizzard Entertainment did speak to me about, probably out in this very room about maybe 3.5 years ago. So quite fun. Basically, there was a Diablo retrospective panel at Portland Retro Gaming Expo. Shed a little bit of insight into Blizzard, the cultural shift of things as a result of the merger, and in particular, the money side. So we're basically going to get to see how the ruinous powers corrupted Blizzard.
Yeah, and if there's any Heroes of the Storm fans listening, be prepared for a little bit of what I'm going to say catharsis. Just a little bit of catharsis and a little bit of extra Jesus Christ, go to hell, Blizzard.
So if we, Blizzard, charge our players for something, and of course we're going to charge them, we're a business, but we always wanted to charge them what we thought was reasonable. So that came into direct conflict with a lot of Activision's ideas. Oh no! What a surprise!
Oh no. Wait, you mean Activision wants them to charge them more than their products are worth? Really? That's never happened before.
Shocking. Now, this was a panel that featured Matt Ullman, I think, who's a composer and sound engineer, Diablo 3, lead designer Jay Wilson. You remember Jay Wilson?
Yeah.
He was a little bit, for a brief period of time, public enemy #1 on the online, so that was kind of funny.
Yeah, he was also the person who gave that talk about how absolutely terribly the real money auction house went, and how the whole over-justification effect started to wreck Diablo. He talked about all of that stuff at one of the GDC talks. I was like, yes, I see. When you left, all of the knowledge in your brain clearly left with you.
And Matt Householder as well, who's a producer. Now, the context here is the state of Blizzard in and around the 2012 release of Diablo 3. That was 10 years ago, and it was quite messy. Also, they talk about the closure of Blizzard North, because Blizzard North
I didn't like Diablo 3.
Diablo 1, 2, and expansions. And then, of course, Diablo 3 got shifted to a team at Blizzard's Irvine campus. I'll do the quotes for that. Also, they closed down, by the way. Wikipedia says that Vivendi, or the French, made a decision. Don't believe the business history you read online. Business history is always wrong and stupid. You spend 5 minutes looking at who owns what and realize what the reality is in most situations, most of these. The French did not shut the studio down in 2005. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. WoW was making more money than, like, the CIA selling crack in 1988.
It's a lot of money, by the way.
And so Mike Morhaime, who I liked, had all the money and all the leverage in that situation. And it maybe wasn't an inappropriate move, no matter how it was handled. It may have been the right call at the time. So that is essentially saying.
So this is right at about the time just before Activision took control, right? Well, I can't remember what year Activision took over, but it was not too long. It was sometime during TBC, I believe. And then Wrath of the Lich King was the first official expansion with Activision as the parent company.
Morhaime really had the power here. If he did not want Blizzard North to close down, he would have been able to ensure that Blizzard North did not close down.
Yep.
Because I suppose, yes, World of Warcraft, he had all the money in the world. I mean, especially at this time, around 2005. Like, you know, that period of time from like 2004 to 2010. I suppose maybe 2008, but like when, you know, you have like was it Toyota? Like you have these humongous brands like doing World of Warcraft advertisements.
Yeah, it was just
all the celebrities. It was humongous culturally.
Yeah, and even like comparatively, games are a lot bigger now. But you look at the sub numbers and you go,
Were the celebs already doing advertisements and stuff like that in 2005? I'm not sure. For some reason, I want to say that that started to come out a little later than that. But
that's that times $10 a month. That's $120 a year. Yeah, it was $10, I believe, at the set. That's $120 a year from millions of people. That was basically unheard of in video games. Outside of, like, I guess Activision at the same time with Modern Warfare, kind of reaching those. Wait, there's real money in video games? Holy shit.
Yeah. And I guess on that, it's now time to talk about the effect of Activision on Blizzard Entertainment from what the guys talked about. So, here's the quote. Activision's effect on Blizzard was like a frog in a boiling pot of water, says Wilson. Early on, it felt like nothing. Later, as business models progressed for products, it became more and more. The products that were newer, that were making money, had enormous pressure on them to produce. Like Heroes of the Storm. They were just crushed in meetings with Activision where they were always talking about the bottom line, how to pull more out of that. Diablo 3 wasn't affected too much because we were very solidly a premium box
so maybe
model.
that's part of the reason why Heroes of the Storm kind of sucked compared to other games, or wasn't as popular as other games.
One of the saddest things is because Heroes of the Storm, obviously, there's a lot of criticisms about the overall idea of, hey, what if this is more of a team-based thing, right? What if this is all the individual stuff's not there, so you've got the problem of not having the individual joy of carrying teams and stuff. But in terms of the production pipeline, Heroes of the Storm is probably up there with StarCraft in terms of one of the most well put together games that exists. From Blizzard, of course. Where it's like Heroes of the Storm is just, here's your content, here's your content, here's your content, constantly updated. Seemingly on like the back end of their development, they did everything right. But it just didn't translate the money. And that's the only thing. The people who greenlight projects and hire for projects and distribute resources across the company, the money's the only thing they care about.
Yeah, or at least
manifested.
Enough money. They evidently thought the
What have I said to you guys on stream before? The bottom line is the bottom line.
opportunity cost of continued development
Activision
was higher than the money they would receive from the game.
Like if you're a parent company and you take over another company and you know the financials of that company that you've taken over, and you see that they've got a product that they're pumping in X number of dollars into development and it's not really profiting anything at all, the parent company may come down and say, hey, why are we wasting time with this stuff? Like, why don't we just get rid of it? It seems to be a waste of time. Let's take the resources or the people that are developing that and put it towards something, put it into something else, or what have you. But that's probably how Activision jumped in and interfered basically with Heroes of the Storm. I've never played Heroes of the Storm. I've never had it loaded on my computer. I don't really like those style of games. So it would be the worst person in the world to ask and say, why did this fail? Why was it good? So you're saying skins in Heroes of the Storm would have saved it? Perhaps, I guess. Or drop cards for extra power. I don't know. I'd have no idea.
In the long term. Now, Double Immortal? So, yes, a lot of talk of Immortal before I left, said Wilson. They were talking about Immortal, but it hadn't actually started. That was all Activision Blizzard. They wanted a free-to-play Diablo really badly, and I didn't. Now, granted, by then I was off Diablo.
Wow.
What a surprise that the Activision side wanted this. Indeed, it's reasonable to assume that they wanted that. They wanted Call of Duty Mobile. And we can see that obviously
and you know why
not as successful.
Mobile games
in
make
such an
ton of
insane
money
tier, perhaps than some people thought. But broadly speaking, they have seen big success with COD Mobile.
Sure have.
Yeah, obviously. But again, that's time taken up at Blizzard on not things that we want. I suppose this is the most silver lining on dark stormy clouds, is that the bulk of the development was done by NetEase. Which, at least means it hopefully didn't come at a tremendous cost of actual Blizzard output that people would want. Now, for how it impacted the staff, this merger. Activision had a big effect on all those business models, and in my opinion, a lot of the higher-up people who left did because they got frustrated with all of that. I don't think they made those products better. There's a lot of bad things about Blizzard. There's a lot of great things, but I think the best thing, when I was there, Blizzard had this saying, we always want to be the guys in the white hats, which basically means we always want to be the good guys. Now, that is obviously funny when you think about the skeletons that through a lot of
We're
that
in the
time were in the closet. But I suppose you could probably think it's like, okay, right, you know, we're the boys who are going to come in and save gaming. And I guess with that can come, you know, some of the, like, I don't want to say cowboy, but, you know, the the behavior that led to the structural problems that Blizzard had, right? You can see how people would, you know, be in that side of things, but be like, you know, fuck yeah, fucking gaming. Let's not fuck our customers over.
Yeah.
I'm trying to, like, I guess, paint a picture of this thing of like how the Blizzard makes the games that captured everyone's imagination while still having large cultural issues.
Yeah.
And really with that, I think it comes down to like a self-righteous, big banterous boys club, which then obviously has issues.
Yeah, I mean, you can be, or you can have a good group with bad individual elements.
Yeah.
And you can have, you know, a bad overall person who has, you know, at least, no, I want to say it's some redeeming qualities because that implies redemption, but more the fact that, you know, they can be part of a good group, they can have good stuff in some ways because people aren't just one dimension, people have multiple facets, and that's a case of, I imagine everyone at Blizzard, and it shows in their work, right? Especially early on, a lot of them did literally go, we will be, you know, the video game white hats. We will make the game, and it's like that.
I love the original Diablo when it came out.
Yeah, we always wanted to charge them what we thought was reasonable.
It was so much better than like games that were out at that time.
By large and by far did. It just went a wee bit wrong, and was always a wee bit wrong inside. But as far as a business with the relationship with customers went, it was always good. And that's what Activision fundamentally changed without any
I don't even know how that's possible, Thierry. I've got pre-rolls turned off, so
notable benefits, at least internally, that we can see. Yeah. Obviously, it's hard. We can't look at the other timeline where it didn't happen, but I think based on what we've seen, probably would have meant at least slightly better games. At least, if nothing else, at least that.
Yeah, so to move on to some of the specific impacts then on the Diablo franchise, right? And this is fun because of the Real Money Auction House. Regarding the auction house, Jay says the reason they wanted to have it was security and no other reason. It was not to make money. Diablo 2, item duping, hacks, gold sellers, and all those things. I guess it's maybe a situation there where, you know, the downsides of this, you only felt if you were like scammed or messed around, but perhaps that's the sort of thing where Blizzard had complete exposure and focus to those negative downsides in a way that like average consumers who just engaged in it and enjoyed it didn't. But Jay basically said there was no way to fix the problem without controlling the trading market, and security was also a reason why D3 was online only.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, if you were going to have a real money auction house, it would kind of necessitate basically either online only or some really, you know, just like gating of this is an offline character, it stays in its box.
Yeah, and that's the thing where that's obviously security is a great thing. And I completely believe them there because I can't imagine, you know, Jay Wilson would have sat in a room and said, we can sell people items for real money. Hell yeah. And it's the same with the World of Warcraft token, where it is just a lot of these ideas from like earlier on were not just, let's just make a load of money. It's, is this going to take, I guess, third-party RMT and third-party people? Are we going to be making the profit instead of other people? Does that mean we have a better relationship with our customers? Yes. It also has a whole lot of other things, but this was at an era where I think, and we're still at that point, right? We're still at that point where it's only now with loot boxes at their worst, kind of coalescing at the same time with Twitch's gambling fiasco and with, I guess, some like sports gambling stuff in real life getting bad. It's only now I think we're kind of really, as I say, as consumers, as an engaged consumer base of gamers, we're actually starting to think and go, what are the real long-term effects of this on how it happens across gaming and across people? I imagine back in the day, Jay Wilson wasn't sitting going, how does this work with the actual reward loop of our game? Maybe they thought about it, but they clearly thought this was more important. But then obviously he then talked to GDC and said, yeah, if you go buy the item instead of getting it from the boss, that doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
But for some reason, their mode of thought didn't let them see that ahead of time.
I think they forgot that if you legitimize it, then you normalize it.
Yeah,
And that's the issue that they ran into.
And that's the thing that we kind of get that because we've seen it and it's kind of obvious in hindsight. We can connect the dots.
Yeah,
but also,
it's what we screamed about with WoW Token.
Yeah.
it legitimizes currency for gold in a way that then can have negative externalities in the overall game experience. And again,
I guess I mean, I was gonna say, I guess in retail, like buying WoW tokens is normal now. But I was gonna compare it to like classic WoW, but buying gold on G2G or sites like that is all essentially normal now anyways. I haven't done it at all in Wrath or TBC, but I'm not going to deny that I did a couple of times in Classic. I will admit that, but I like do not agree with buying gold. I sound like a bit of a hypocrite, but it is what it is. I did buy gold on a couple of occasions back in Classic, but I was playing on a server where there was no items on the auction house. So, anyways, yeah, I don't know. I guess buying gold in WoW now is like for money is now kind of normalized. I guess is what they're saying.
and it's that thing of
You forgive me, thank you. I
the old
appreciate
classic
it.
unpriced negative
Are you someone who also buys gold, Frank? Are you forgiving me because you also buy gold on websites?
externality that
You buy
people
gold?
don't really talk about much
course you
because
did,
it's
Brandon.
not a
Cheated,
first
you
order
cheated.
impact.
Yeah, and we're obviously, whenever you're trying to make a video game, you're a little bit busy trying to think of how good can you make the video game. You're not really sitting there and going, well, am I designing an economic system? Let's set across a committee to examine the...
See, here's the thing. Video games are designed now to make as much money as possible. They're not necessarily designed to be the best game possible. Like, you'll have, when it comes to a decision from the game developers on if you've got a choice between making the game make more money or making the game better, like if you come to a fork in the road and the decision that you're going to make is either going to make the game better or it's going to make the game more profitable. Unfortunately, a lot of the times these companies just choose to make the game more profitable.
The possible impact of this over the next like 10 years.
Yeah.
But we're seeing, because we can sort of see the beginning of the trend and then follow the trend line. And obviously a lot of game commentary is now a thing that's very gaming culture commentary. So we can now kind of sit and think about this stuff, and it's a lot of what we're privileged enough to be able to sit down and go, right, okay, what impact is going to have on games as a whole over time. But it's like it's upsetting that they didn't do any of that, but also they kind of couldn't because they're too busy trying to make a game. Hard to blame them ultimately, but it's interesting that they go on to say that the Oxness only made 10 to 15 million.
Yeah.
Only 10 to 15 million. Per souls.
Yeah, no, but like,
yeah.
we could.
Sorry,
Yeah.
The accent got me there. What only made 10 to 15
Only
million?
10 to 15 million. Per Oxness only made 10 to 15 million. I think that they go on to say that the Oxness only made 10 to 15 million.
Yeah.
Only 10 to 15 million. Per souls.
Something.
Yeah,
only
no,
made 10
but
to
like,
15 million.
yeah.
We could sit here and, we could play a role for you guys and be like, oh, they're only 10 to 15 million.
Oh, the auction house.
No,
okay.
here's the reality. 10 to 15 million is fuck all.
It's nothing.
By today's standards, it is.
It is a big lot of money to any individual personally, but actually, if you kind of understand wealth inequality, not even that, rather shockingly.
Yeah.
The amount of hidden wealth in places is
that's
holy shit. The point basically is, like, look, Bobby's not rubbing his nips to this.
No.
It would have to be a lot more money to get the Bobster super excited.
I don't want to ever think about Bobby rubbing his nips again, ever.
In a pretty short amount of time. And then you can begin to understand. Now, obviously, to any of us, 10 to 15 million is an absolutely eye-watering amount of money. I mean, holy shit, we could, like, probably bankroll our studio for, like, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 decades if we had all of that. Like, holy shit.
I'd love to see a single percentage of that, like.
yeah. But for a big company, like this, especially in that Activision time, they're not paying for double-digit millions. No. That's not the game they're playing. The game they are playing is triple-digit millions, right?
If even.
Yeah. If even. Which I know it's a different realm to where we all operate in normally, but it is what it is. So it's kind of weird. It kind of sounds like Blizzard was wanting to get rid of the auction house right away, but they ended up not thinking they could because the auction house was advertised on boxes.
Man, that was a different world then.
Yeah, they then just looked at the legal issues and decided to get rid of it, and they just thought, yeah, fuck it, if we get sued, then, so be it.
Which is fair play to them.
So that's the Blizzard of 2012, right? 4 years into Activision. They were still somewhat exerting their own control. They had the ability to decide on aspects of D3 that were not purely monetary things, but there's also a cultural shift in product design and that kind of thing. There's the looming pressure of a free-to-play Diablo, and then we track that
2005. A free-to-play Diablo.
Look at the state of the company
2012.
today, and we've got Immortal, of course, leaving a very sour taste in many people's mouths. D4 actually does seem like a brilliant game, but audiences, because of Immortal, and because D3 was undersupported, reportedly, this is from past report, I forget the journalist it was from, like it's Morheim and his leadership team that canned Diablo 3's second expansion, even though Reaper of Souls actually did excellently. So that's just an example of like Blizzard totally failing by themselves. So you got that. You've got, of course, Call of Duty, which thankfully I think is rebounding a bit. Vanguard was pretty damn dire. I've really enjoyed what I've played of the new Call of Duty. I've really enjoyed the beta as well. Yeah, I don't know. I like it. Fucking hell, anything that they do in that engine it just has a game feel to it that really appeals to me. We've got World of Warcraft, of course. Few too many UI bugs in the latest patch, but it is somewhat rebounding. I mean, we're at least seeing it in terms of like our audience numbers and stuff like that. Warcraft 3 Reforged is not where it's...
What is what do they determine is rebuild? Like, are they talking about just numbers, like including Wrath of the Lich King, or are they talking about numbers with just retail? Because to me it's separate, and the reason why is because I honestly believe that once Classic goes into Kata, the Classic numbers are going to dip significantly, like a huge amount. And I think these huge numbers, or these big numbers that people are seeing with Blizzard and the amount of revenue that World of Warcraft is bringing in, that's going to drop significantly once Cataclysm comes out. It's going to be huge, like a huge drop. And I don't know that, like after BFA and after Shadowlands, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are just kind of in the same boat as me. They're just going to sit there and wait. They're not going to buy. I'm not buying Dragonflight. Not a chance. Kata is still better than retail. Yeah, but dude, there's a ton of people that are currently playing Classic that have no interest in playing Cataclysm. Like I'm talking absolutely zero interest in playing Cataclysm at all. So I'm kind of like admitting it looks like they're going to go into Cataclysm. You'd play Cataclysm. I'd play Cataclysm before Dragonflight as well, but I'm at the point where I don't want to play Cataclysm. I'll go play private servers. Now that I've got that option, I'll go play private servers if I want to keep playing. If they don't come out with vanilla fresh, I'll probably go play private servers. Tyrants on Everlook. No, dude. Come on. I need a break, dude. I need a break. But I he's saying that there's a rebound here for World of Warcraft, and I don't know why are we watching this in 480. I don't know what rebound he's talking about, because is there a rebound in retail? Because it doesn't feel like there's been a rebound in retail. It doesn't feel like people are looking at Dragonflight and going, oh my God, this is going to be the next great big expansion. This is going to be awesome. I mean, there always is those people with every expansion, but I don't hear that overall. I overhear a lot of people going, we'll have to wait and see. We'll wait and see.
It's supposed to be yet, but it kind of is getting there, albeit slowly and with 500,000 asterisks.
Yeah.
And,
oh man.
Yeah. Oh, and then Overwatch, which, look, I'm fucking loving it as a game, but as I said in the video, it's a shit
I've never
product
played original
because
Overwatch, but
they messed up the reward loop, messed up the live service monetization, meaning that it just feels a bit barren. We'll be talking a bit more. Actually, the video we put out yesterday, which we haven't recorded yet because we've got to go and play some of the event, but we do want to do something about that based on what we're hearing. We just want to do our own investigation first. But it seems like it's another good example of holy shit, you had absolute gold with this as a game, and we cannot believe how you managed to torpedo it because of the way you orchestrated your business model.
Yeah, well, there's again, a lot of that seems to be the Activision Blizzard side of things, because I even noticed there are elements of the game that to me look kind of, hey, this isn't done. It's like isn't finished. And the more I've been talking to different, well, a handful of
Like a
people
lot
about,
of products that are put
and seeing
out.
people post online about how support generally feels, there's a lot of me kind of going, oh, this game's like not done.
It's interesting to me considering I am playing support and absolutely loving it.
I'm not talking about my own experience as
Yeah.
much as I'm talking about community trends and seeing like the support role, like queue time, kind of hard blocking a lot.
I'm not gonna lie. I've thought about picking up an FPS game. I have played them very rarely in the past, like years ago, just for something different on the stream. Like I don't know, Call of Duty or something, Battlefield, like something completely different, just so that you guys can see the best sharpshooter in the game.
DPS, because
So I have played, I would say 95% of Overwatch 2
Yeah.
as support, which has meant I've had instantaneous queues.
Yeah.
Now, mostly it's only been a 100 XP bonus rather than a 500 XP bonus, so not sure what to make of that. There's also the weird thing where, like, the double XP weekend was only match XP, so actually it was tiny.
Cool.
Anyway, we'll get into that once we've done our own investigation. So we've got all that going on, as well as, obviously, them still reeling from all of the, cultural issues. But we're certainly we're halfway through the start of their crazy year, maybe, well, not exactly a calendar year, but there's like a 12-month span of time where we're going to see, Wrath Classic, Dragonflight, Overwatch 2 PvE, Diablo 4, like just a whole bunch of stuff. Now, this is these guys talking about their sort of in and around 2012 experience. I can offer like a little bit more from a source that I talked to at this stage.
It is actually going to be a big year over the next year for Blizzard.
This is maybe more of a 2018.
What is you guys' favorite FPS game to watch? Like, what game do you prefer watching? Is it Call of Duty or is it something else?
2018 take
I've seen a lot of the guys like playing Modern Warfare 2 that just came out recently as well, but I haven't seen a lot of them give outstanding reviews on it. I was gonna buy it, and then I started watching them play, and they were even saying, like, Dr. Disrespect and Tim the Tatman, they were like, "How you feeling about the game?" And they were just kind of like, they weren't even answering the question when it was being asked. They're just kind of like, they didn't say anything. And usually for games like this, like, it's encouraged, I think, for them to not say anything negative.
And this was a long, real.
If you're any good at Call of Duty, then you won't like it, dude. I'm not good at any game that requires aim. Okay. Like, I was joking when I said I'm the best sharpshooter. You guys would probably actually laugh your ass off at how terrible I am at this game. Maybe it would be a hit with the stream. I don't know.
Person, long face-to-face. And, what they had said, which I guess is advancing a few years from these guys, pretty much is the sort of things that they would have been worried about tracking forward. So, yes, it was all about the money. All about the money. There, games that are not really receiving support, like
Boomer
say Star
video
2,
game aiming,
still actually performing.
It's not that; it's just the target isn't where it's supposed to be. Is kind of the problem. Preach was at their headquarters. He says there's a bright future for retail WoW now going forward. New changes in a good way. You know what though? The thing is every expansion we're like, oh wow, look at this. This is gonna be amazing, and it gets super hyped, and then it's just a disappointment. And I mean, I like Preach. But I think that's a lot kind of the same Kool-Aid. Like you hear all these great things, you see a great trailer, and then it turns out to be garbage. So I'm just kind of tired. I'm kind of tired of being tricked by Blizzard into buying an expansion. I haven't bought the last couple, and I'm not buying this one either. So until for example, Shadowlands was an expansion that I didn't buy, and a bunch of my friends were playing it. In the first 2 weeks, they were like, "Oh my god, it's actually really awesome." And I was watching some of the effects that mages have, So of course I rolled a mage and I was leveling it up, and I got to like level 25 before my friends all quit. And they're like, nah, like week 3, they're like, no, the game's not actually that good. Preach is bought and paid for. He has to repent for his disloyalties. Elder Not True Preach said he would never play WoW again a few years ago. He also said BFA and would trash in the beta. I understand that, but I mean, what I'm saying is a lot of times people will look at games and be hyped up about certain things that they're being told are going to be done to it, and then it turns out to be a hot mess. And World of Warcraft has been no different. If you go back and look at a lot of other videos where people are talking about expansions and stuff like that, like they all talk about how great this is, blah blah blah, and then a month later everyone's quit the game. So yeah, Blizzard is dead company. Just going to keep enjoying the good games they made 20 years ago. Well, 17 years ago now. Yeah, 17 years ago.
Really well.
And again, I have nothing but respect for Preach. I like watching his videos and stuff like that. I think Preach is a stand-up guy. I like the way he stood up to Blizzard and decided he was not going to talk about World of Warcraft anymore. I thought that was like a permanent thing, but apparently now he's back playing World of Warcraft and, you know, spent some time at their headquarters or whatever. I'm kind of the type of person where, you know, I've been fooled a couple of times before. I've thought that the next expansion was gonna be great. It turned out to be garbage. I haven't honestly really enjoyed World of Warcraft since, I don't know, maybe Legion. I was enjoying it a little bit, but then before that, I didn't enjoy it since Wrath of the Lich King. And even then, about halfway through Wrath of the Lich King, I got bored and was ready to quit. But I didn't actually cancel my subscription till about 6 months into Cataclysm. So then a lot of people dropped TBC after a month. Same happened for Wrath that just released. Not in the same way, Obi. Like, people aren't dropping Wrath and going, Wrath sucks. Whereas when people were dropping Shadowlands, they were like, Shadowlands sucks. Like, it's garbage. It's a garbage game. I think more people are probably dropping Wrath because they're like, I don't have time for this. I don't have time to do this. I did this 15 years ago. I don't need to do it again. And they realize that they just don't really have the time or desire to put the time in. I don't think a lot of people are leaving Wrath of the Lich King right now going, Wrath sucks. I don't want to play Wrath. I know there's some people that are more fans of like classic vanilla, such as myself, who are maybe looking at Wrath and going, yeah, okay, you know, this kind of sucks. We're kind of getting off topic here for what this video is about, but
in terms of
time, the raid was cleared in 1 day. No, but there's still time you got to put into the game, man. And people are like, I've already done this before, or I don't want to be in such a hardcore, you know, min-max culture and all this other sort of stuff. Many people had full BIS gear day one, or well, they didn't have it day one, let's be honest, but yes, I get your point. People are already, I mean, we're already at the point where we're kind of waiting for, you know, the next phase, but the next phase probably isn't going to come until I'm going to assume January.
In terms of money, obviously StarCraft 2 was left at languish a bit, and
something that I was thinking about last time I mentioned that, I honestly think that there's a good chance now that they will actually bring the next phase, Alodar, in before that. I originally thought, you know what, they do not want Wrath of the Lich King to interfere with people trying out Dragonflight, because retail will make them much more money with all the cash shop items and stuff like that. And again, this is to bring back to this video something that Activision kind of instilled into Blizzard, right? Like, sell things on the cash shop, cash shop, cash shop, cash shop. The best looking mounts, sell them on the cash shop, cash shop, cash shop, right? I think like a lot of people, I kind of lost my train of thought there. I just totally lost my train of thought. Anyways.
And has now had, you know, primary continued development be shut down.
Oh, no, I've got it back again. So the point is that they don't want people to interfere with people trying out a Dragonflight, right? But Blizzard always releases stuff based on their fiscal cycle. So because Wrath has so many numbers, they will possibly want to release Alodar before the end of the fiscal cycle. So before the end of December. Why? Because those people that have quit because they're like, oh man, we've already cleared Nax. What am I going to do now? Oh man, I'm kind of bored. Like, I don't have time for, I'm not going to sit here and do this over and over again. I'm just going to come back in Alodar. So they'll launch Alodar before the fiscal cycle is over, so those people reactivate their accounts if they even. That would be one reason why they might do it.
Very sad considering, I mean, it's Blizzard and StarCraft. Essentially, though, the takeaway that I had from that very long discussion was 100% what you think is true, what you hear is true. The headlines aren't wrong. People are right to be suspicious about Activision causing problems in Blizzard because they 100% absolutely are. That is from somebody who worked on a game team for years at that company. It was
something that a lot of people already suspected.
Also,
Activision was
meddling or
meddling.
something, but it does of course line up with
change their philosophy on how to develop games.
There's been like a few, those times
focus
back
more
when,
on profits rather than good quality games.
Oh, look, a fresh, a fresh machine gunning of Blizzard for something has just appeared. Oh, look, it's the one Kotaku article I might want to click on. It lines up with all that. So that essentially is it. I think right now we're in a situation where, do I want to say that Bobby's, arm is just right up there in Barry, sort of puppeting him? I don't want to say that. I think the situation that they're in is one where they understand that they've utterly fucked their reputation because of their workplace culture and because of issues with some of their games. They still cannot properly acknowledge that in the way that, I would want to see a more Japanese developer style outright saying, sorry, we fucked up, sorry. Whereas
admitting
at least
guilt.
for some cultural stuff, from what I understand, in America, I don't think it's really the case here, but apparently in America, that is seen as being weak, and it's like a very much culture of, putting your chest up, like, ooh, I'm strong. That is basically what the Japanese developers of FF14 were told when their response was to loudly say that they were very sorry about all of the problems. They wanted to fix it. People were just saying, like, no, you can't do that. Everyone in,
Has Blizzard, I don't know, I'd have to look back. Has Blizzard ever, had an incident where, there's been a tremendous amount of bugs? And I guess maybe when they've launched... a new expansion or whatever, and the servers aren't running well, I think maybe they've apologized. But yeah, I do think Blizzard has this history of being very, I don't know, not cautious, but they deliberately do not want to admit guilt in some way.
Team America will think
they don't want to come out and say, hey, listen, we screwed this up. Because if I'm a customer and I see that a product is screwed up, right? If I see a product is screwed up, for example, let's say Blizzard launches their game and there's a whole bunch of bugs, I would rather them come out and say, listen, this is messed up, we screwed up, but our goal is to fix it. Then I'd be like, you know what? At least I know that they acknowledge it and that they're going to try and fix it, rather than just not saying anything. Because what's worse about that is then you're sitting there going, do these guys even realize that they've screwed this up? Are they going to fix it? What can we do? Because if I don't even know that they're going to acknowledge or that they even see it as a problem, then I might look at it and say, well, if this is their product, then I'm gonna dip out and not pay any money. I'm not going to pay my monthly subscription anymore or what have you. But if they come out and say, listen, there's a bunch of bugs. We understand that we're going to fix this problem. This is what our focus is right now. Then I'm probably going to be like, you know what? They fessed up, they admitted it, and they're working on the problem. What more am I going to ask of them at that point?
You're
so
weak. And to be honest, it felt weird to me whenever I'd hear that from people, because I'd always just think, is is that just what they say about, culture in America? Because a lot of the time when people own their L's, I do see loads of people from the United
Is that a like a corporate problem, or is that like a cultural problem with people in general in America? I don't know that it's really a problem with people in general. I think overall, like anytime I've been around, I think it's corporate, right? I don't think it's a cultural thing with people personally being able to admit fault. Anytime I've ever had some sort of an incident with friends or people at work or whatever, where they've done something and they've screwed something up, they're not like trying to deny it for the most part. Like if they do something stupid, they're generally not trying to hide it. They're like, yeah, no, I really screwed this up type of thing. So
States pretty much say, oh, this is great to see you own your L's. I don't know.
maybe it is a corporate thing.
All of that said, there are a lot of times when
But I do think he's right, though. I think he, like the point he's trying to make about Activision, back in the day when Blizzard was separate from Activision, I think they probably would have been more of a company that, number one, they wouldn't have allowed products to get to the market where there were huge issues. And number two, if there were, I feel like the Blizzard of old would have been more apt to like step up and actually acknowledge that they screwed up. So it is probably an impact that Activision has had on Blizzard.
like, the way you get those YouTuber apologies?
Oh yeah.
People roast them. So I suppose it's like people being worried about that dynamic. But I think if you can't tell the difference between laughing at a YouTuber apology, it's like, a bit cringe or whatever, and something that feels like a bit more genuine. I don't know. I always thought, like, is this something that maybe was true in the past, but isn't really true anymore? Not with like...
And in fact, here's some more evidence. The Blizzard of old would have like developed something, had people test it out, allowed them to actually give in their opinion and actually listen to their opinion. Whereas I feel like the Blizzard of today, or at least the Blizzard of at least a year or so ago, maybe they're different now, but they didn't listen to what people were saying. Like it was always the, you think you do, but you don't, or we know better than you. It was an extremely arrogant, there was a lot of arrogance that was coming from Blizzard and their development team, and they just didn't simply listen to people. One thing you needed to take into account, back in the day, we gamers were more forgiving than today. Not saying it's okay. Yeah, but were the game development companies so greedy as they were back in the day, Obi? Like, do you think Blizzard is, and I think that's what annoys people more now than before. Like now, games come out and they're not even completed games. Like they are still in beta basically when they're launched, and people are pissed off because it's like, hey, listen, I just paid $80 or I paid $120 for this game, whatever version of the game you paid for, and this game's still in beta. Like, why did I pay $100 for a game that's still in beta? Right? Whereas in the past, like you were paying for a game that was basically complete. Now you're going onto Steam and buying a game that's still in beta or early alpha or something like that. That's, I think, one of the reasons why people get ticked off. And then on top of that, you spend this money for a game that's still in development. Like, how many people out there have prepaid for Dragonflight? Like, why are people still prepaying for games? I really don't understand that. Like, I guess you get some sort of cosmetic if you prepay or whatever, but is it really worthwhile to spend that $120 or $140 for that version of the game just to, give them money up front and hope that the game turns out? Why not wait to see if the game actually looks like it's going to be good? Right? So part of the problem is that the consumer is so willing to just shill out money like that. It still happens over and over again. Look at New World. Look at New World. People shilled out for a game. I was one of them. Shilled out for a game, and the game was basically in very early beta when it was launched a year ago. Like it was in a terrible state. Like nowhere near ready to be launched, and yet it was. So
the newer generations or something, and it's just some common knowledge that people like think is out there. Honestly, I don't really know, but I think my reflex, your reflex, probably your reflex as well, to a situation like with Blizzard's.
Obi, I slept overnight at a GameStop a couple of times actually to get games for when the store opened the next morning. And there was also the midnight launches as well. I was at several of those as well.
Is to be like, yeah, sorry, we fucked up for Shadowlands. We really did. We're very sorry about this, and we're doing everything we can to deliver a good future for you guys. But it's like they just can't quite say that.
You know what? Like that's actually a kind of a good comparison, I guess. Amazon with New World. Now, technically, I mean, Amazon does own Amazon Gaming Studios, but Amazon Gaming Studios is supposed to operate somewhat like basically on its own. And the basically the deal is, they've got to show that they can produce something that's going to actually be profitable. I believe that is kind of the agreement that they have. Basically, they're given money, but they got to put their money where their mouth is. And then suddenly Amazon came, it sounds like Amazon came by and said, listen, we need to ship this out, because what other reason would they have to have shipped it out way before it was ready? Like, I'm sure everyone that was developing that game knew that game was not ready to come out. I'm sure everyone did. There's other games too. You can go back to like Shadowbane wasn't ready. Their parent company demanded it got launched. The game died within like 2 months because it had so many bugs in it. And the gaming company that was developing it knew it had too many bugs. The parent company demanded that it was launched first. Sounds like the same thing happened with New World. I'm sure that anyone that was actually working on that game knew that it wasn't ready. Like, they're not stupid. Like, they probably were like, man, there's still a lot of work that we need to get done here. But the higher ups are coming down and saying, you know what, we need to, I don't know. They should have waited a year for New World. New World today is really fun to watch with the new patch. You know what? I would like to give New World another try, and that's not very often that I say that. Usually games get like kind of they get one chance at a first impression, and New World really blew that with a lot of people. And still to this day, they still haven't come up with any meaningful content. A year later, they still don't have any meaningful content. You're still doing the same, 5-man dungeons. I don't know what your gear score is that you're allowed to get up to now, like 625 or whatever it is, 650. But that's not end game content to me. Like, they don't have anything else. Raid is coming soon. Yeah, but Raid should have been out like 2 weeks after the game launched. Not a year and a bit after the game launched, or however long. I can't even remember what month it actually came out in now, but it's been like a year or more since the game came out, and the Raid's still not even there. We don't know anything about a Raid, do we? As far as I know, they've got a new expansion with new lands, like New World Fresh Start servers tomorrow. I know. People have already been talking to me about it, and I know maybe I'll give it a shot. We'll see. I've still got it installed on my computer, I think.
So, is that stuff within the WoW team? Is that Activision? Who the hell knows?
Whatever it is, it's getting quite frustrating, because I think a lot of the corporations are starting to learn that's not how to fly anymore.
Well, funny enough.
Okay, so here's to kind of wrap this video up. It's almost over. How do we know that it's any different? Like, if Activision has their hands in this deep already, how do we know it's going to be any different? Why would anyone give their money to buy Dragonflight when they're talking about how much of an impact Activision has had, and it seemingly has gotten worse over time? Why would you say, hey, you know what, Dragonflight's going to be different? Why? Because they have trees now for your talent system? Hey, look, we've got trees back. Like, that doesn't mean the game's going to be good. I think it's cool that they brought trees back for your talent system. I think it's awesome, actually. But if there's anything that we've learned, it does not mean that Blizzard is going to make a game. All it means to me is that you're going to be playing a game where there's going to be a lot of things on the cash shop, and you can buy things off the cash shop, and that's basically it. And when we watched the trailer, when they made the announcement about Dragonflight, I remember we watched it live on stream, and we were watching the trailer, and the trailer ended, and I was talking to the stream. I'm like, that is maybe the worst trailer I've ever seen for any expansion Blizzard has done. And we talked about it like it was extraordinarily boring. It was like that, like, was terrible. Like, I have no interest in playing this game. And then I realized something. The trailers don't mean shit. They honestly don't mean anything. And if you want any proof of that, some of the best trailers of any expansion were the worst expansions around. Like Warlords of Draenor, the trailer was unbelievable. The game was terrible. Like you can look at other expansions as well. Like, so the trailer doesn't really mean anything. So there are things about Dragonflight that I kind of like, but if we already know based on what he's saying here that Activision has their claws into basically everything, they're demanding that, hey, we need to make money off of this. Why is that? What makes you think that this version of the game is going to be any different?
Where I think businesses are pretty slow to uptake new forms of culture.
That's why I'll be interested to see what comes out of Preach, because he's just been, tweeting little things from his trip to Blizzard. He may have spoken to Mike Ybarra. He absolutely has spoken to.
Well, they're going back to the roots where WoW was successful during vanilla rather than letting the tier sets and talent trees and going to give it a try, but I only lasted 3 months in BFA and Shadowlands. Okay, but I mean, they were sort of trying to go back to, what made World of Warcraft popular when they went back to Warlords of Draenor, right? Having that whole thing come back into the storyline again as well, and look how that ended up, right? Like, I mean, like I said, I'm not anti-retail at all. I would love to love the retail version of the game. In fact, I noticed actually the other day, I don't know how long I've had this, but I've had access to beta. I've had access to beta on my account for I don't know how long now. And I can't remember what I was doing. I was watching a movie or something the other day, and I logged into the beta, and it forced me to level up a warlock, or I started to level up a warlock, and it was in like some new zone I've never heard of before, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Where's why am I not in Duratar? What's going on? So it was like completely different for me. I made it to like level 6, and I was like, okay, well, that was whatever. And then I think the movie ended and I left. So, but like I said, I don't trust Blizzard to actually make a good game anymore until I actually see that they've made a good game. I'm not one of those people that has that faith in Blizzard that they're going to come out with a good game because they've got this history of coming out with really good games. They've lost me as a consumer that believes that in them. Now I'm at the point where I will not buy anything that is theirs until like all of my friends are playing it, and like a month or two later they're like, oh man, you got to try this. This is awesome. You're going to love it. Like it's got to last for more than a couple of weeks before people say, like BFA or Shadowlands where they dip after 2 weeks,
Ian, to Holly, to John,
Yeah.
I
would love to love retail again,
the
though.
Warcraft team, which certainly does make sense. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what goes on there. We have been, in many cases, of an accord with what Mike and team have been. I mean, obviously from a slightly different perspective, but yeah, it'll be interesting. Because he's been very out there and real about criticisms.
Yeah. That said, I'm a little bit today specifically because the Dragonflight pre-patch went live.
Yeah.
And one of the systems that they were bigging up and talking about and put on the back of the box, and I think it's interesting to bring it up because they talk about the auction house. They're like, oh, well, it was on the back of the box, so we'd be very, very legally worried about removing it. Meanwhile, Dragonflight's like, hey, here's this big new UI update. And it is one of the worst cases of them shipping a minimal viable product I've ever seen in my fucking life. It is dire how unfinished that is. All the work that's done is fine, but it's just not done. And I needed way more time. And there's not been a single comment on it. And I'm waiting to see how the next week goes. Maybe the next month before Dragonflight launches.
Yeah, this blew me. Like, I had to, like, it took me a little bit to get used to how the new menu system was, too. Like, I was like, I didn't know if this was new in Dragonflight or if this came out in Shadowlands. But I had to, like, it. I mean, after, 10 seconds, you get used to how they've laid it out again.
Because if Blizzard haven't learned that when they make a mistake, they have to say, listen, we know you all see our mistake. We can't brush it under the rug. We will have to say, sorry, here's what's going on.
If there's one thing that they can learn from Final Fantasy 14, it's that, listen, you're doing more good for your player base and them willing to tolerate your crap if you at least take the first step and say we screwed up.
But they haven't done that with Warcraft 3 Reforged after that patch that broke half the game.
They still haven't done that with Warcraft Reforged. Are you serious?
And they haven't. They've been communicative with Overwatch 2, but they've not really sat down and talked about the big issues. So I'm a little bit concerned that maybe they haven't made quite as much progress as people were, as people dared to dream, I think.
There are, there are. I was about to say there are elephants in the closet.
Yeah,
There's elephants in the closet and skeletons in the room. Yes. Okay. I've messed up my my common phrases. We'll have to see. That overall is it, though. Look, with Activision stuff, if you've been trusting your gut, yeah, your gut's probably right.
Sure is.
So that's the situation. Always great to hear from ex-employees talking about their experience on things. Man, you do just have to wonder what would happen if Blizzard North, still existed, right? If they weren't cut, if David Brevik and co. were doing that. I mean, maybe they would have left. Or maybe they would have been more like a Jeff Kaplan character and would have stuck around for a long-ass time.
Yeah.
We don't really have much of a way to know, but it is an interesting little thought experiment, isn't it?
I'd sure love to have one of those like mirrors that can see into alternate timelines, even just for Blizzard, even just for how if key figure not been pushed out would have helped over time.
So
Fascinating.
let us know what you think would have happened to the alternative timeline. If you want to support us, then you can always check out The Pale Beyond, our game over on Steam. Consider wishlisting that if you're interested. But other than that, there was a pretty... I'm assuming it'll be a hot video. I think it will be. A pretty hot video on the channel yesterday. There'll be something cool on the channel tomorrow, so stay subbed. See you next time.
All right, good video. Anyways, so I guess we got sidetracked a little bit, but obviously a lot of the rumors over the years are true. It was pretty obvious with the shift in direction that Blizzard took, with how Blizzard was focusing more on profits rather than an actual solid game, which to me sounds kind of odd because you would think that after the success that they had with World of Warcraft, they would know that if you created a really good game, first and foremost, you would see a lot of profits. Like that would do more to actually showing you a lot of profits. You would have more players playing. That means more people would be buying stuff off the cash shop, stuff like that. And you would probably have less of players like me who just like flat out refuse to buy anything off the cash shop because I can't stand Blizzard. Like I'm leveling a character. I'm leveling this character here up to 80, and I refuse to pay for the boost because I can't stand Blizzard and I don't want to give them money. You know what I would have done like 5 years, 6, 7, 8 years ago? I would have probably paid for that bloody boost. But I'm like, no, I'm not giving them whatever it is, the 60, 70 bucks to boost. I'm just going to use this and make the excuse that it's content for my stream. But I could do anything on my stream. I could sit here and watch more videos. But instead, I choose not to give Blizzard money, and I'm leveling this character instead from, basically from level 1 all the way to 80. So I don't give them the extra whatever money it is for the boost. Anyways, that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you're watching this on YouTube, please make sure that you go over to Bellular's channel. I'll leave the links down below. Throw him a like, of course. Subscribe to his channel. And if you enjoyed my commentary, please feel free to stop by my channel. I stream 6 nights a week at 9 p.m. Eastern from Tuesday till Sunday, and that's at twitch.tv/Alodar. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one.